Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome to Ex5 CSS Dentist. And right now I'm in Blackboard on our CSC 230 assignments page. And if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see some information for Ex5 CSS Dentist. And this will probably even change a little by the time you read it, but for now there's some basic instructions here. And I'm just going to get you started with this so that you can start working on it, because there's going to be a number of steps for this exercise, but you can at least get started on it. If you haven't already, you can look over the video tutorial for the overview, which goes over basically the finished product and what's going to happen. For this video, I'm going to go over starting the CSS file and starting to build the CSS file, which I did with the past one, and I'll try to move through it as quickly as I can. But for this exercise, I did provide you with a JPEG. Now, if you're not sure what you're supposed to do with a JPEG, you can download it. You can right-click and save link as and download it, and open it up in either a picture viewer or preview or even in Photoshop if you have it, whatever you'd want to do. But what I'm going to do now, you could do this. You could just click on this JPEG, and I'm actually going to right-click and do Open Link in New Tab. You can actually open a JPEG in Chrome if you're working in Chrome. Now I'm on a Mac, and there it is. And this is just kind of a finished product. I just took a screenshot of my finished product, and you can see what it is. It's just so that you can kind of know what it's supposed to look like as you're working on it. I didn't give you all the HTML because then you'd have the HTML. But what I did was give you kind of a visual so that you could see where things are and how things are identified. I just put little labels on here so that you could learn to make the connection between the way the IDs are identified in HTML and the way they're actually referenced in the CSS file. So this is kind of a picture, and keep in mind this is a screenshot, so these aren't real tabs, so it might kind of fool you a little. Okay, so in Blackboard, some of the instructions that you're going to start with here are downloading that, so I have that, and watching some of the video tutorials, which this one I'm recording. And then what you're going to do, and this isn't really hard at all, you're going to launch CyberDuck, and I have CyberDuck launched. And you don't have all these bookmarks here, or favorite bookmarks, I'm sorry. But I have all the ones for most of the people in the class so that I can connect to yours. And I'm going to actually connect to yours and put in the Ex5 folder so that you don't have to download it from Blackboard. You could just download it right from your CyberDuck. It'll be there already. And I'll just kind of show you what you're going to do. So this is my sample one here, and I'm going to double click to connect. And it's asking for my password, and I'll put that in, and I'll hit login, and then I should see my directory, and you should see your directory. It should look like this. In addition to a EX4 folder, you'll now have an EX5 folder, and that's the one you're going to copy down to your directory so you could work on it locally. Right now it's up on the server. So I'm going to just click on my Finder in the Mac, and obviously you need to open up a folder on Windows. And here's my folder, and make sure you get it to right where it's going to go so that you can just drag it right in there. And here's my upload sample, just like you would have upload your last name. And what I'm going to do is just from CyberDuck, you know, to upload you drag to CyberDuck, to download you download from CyberDuck, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to drag EX5 from here right to here, and that should be pretty easy to do. Let's see. Drag it to here. The only thing that may happen, it may ask me for my password again, and it did. And it's downloading, and it should tell me that I'm downloading in my little transfers window, and I'll close that up. I don't need that open, and here now I have it locally. So this is what I'm going to work on locally. I don't need CyberDuck anymore until I'm finished with this thing, or until I tell you to upload it, any changes that you made. So I'm not going to work on this anymore, so I can disconnect by using this button, and that should disconnect it. I'll go back to here, and I'll quit out of CyberDuck. And if you're using another FTP, you should be able to do the same thing by downloading it. So this is where you're going to work, and this is the folder that you're going to open in brackets. So when you go to open folder, you'll open up EX5 so that shows you the files for that folder. And just so you know what's in here, there's an IMG folder. I just abbreviated to IMG instead of images, and I hope that doesn't confuse you. And there's two files in here. This is the header pic that you might have seen on the other video, and then there's a picture of my dentist. That's all you really have right now. You're going to make a CSS file that's going to be here in this directory inside the EX5 folder. So there's going to be a ex5.css file here, which I'm going to go over doing next. The first part of this is just downloading your folder. The next part is going to be opening this up. When you go to brackets, you may be seeing the EX4 folder. You may also see something called Getting Started if you put it back in that folder, but you're probably seeing your EX4 folder that's here right now. So if you want to open folder, go up here to open folder where it says ex4 if that's the last folder you had open, and I'm going to open folder, and I'm going to choose, I'll make sure I get out of ex4, go to upload sample, and choose ex5. And I don't need to go in any further, I'm just going to choose ex5 and I'll hit open. Okay, and what I should see is my image folder, which has 2 images in there, and there's my index file. If you click on it, you'll open it up, and here's my index file right now. And if I previewed this, I would just see the raw HTML. So I'll use this little preview button over here to open up, and it'll open up a separate. And this is the raw HTML here. And notice there are links. These are dummy links set up right now, but so they don't go anywhere. When you click on here, nothing happens. But this is pretty much the raw HTML that you're looking at, and that's what it looks like without any CSS. And what you're going to do is you're going to start a CSS file. And the first thing you're going to do here is you're going to create a link to a CSS file. How about we do this? How about we go File, New, and create the CSS file, then we'll link to it. So I'm going to go File, New, and keep in mind when you first start a new file, it doesn't color code it based on HTML or CSS because it doesn't know what it is yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a slash asterisk, and I'll just put CSS file. You don't have to do this. This is not required. I'm just doing this just so it's kind of an indication that it's a CSS file. And this is a comment up here. And then I'll just hit return, and that's all I need to start, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go File, Save As, and in this folder, it's going to be in the same directory as the index.html. I'm going to call this ex5 lowercase .css, and this is going to be my CSS file. And then once I save this, it should get color coded. Notice even this became gray. And then when I start putting in my CSS, my first element or selector that I put in here should be color coded. And this is your CSS file started. Now, what I need to do is go to my index file, and I need to link to it so that my index file knows to use the CSS from that file. And to do that, I'm just going to hit return, and remember, you're in your head section. This is where this goes. I'm going to put it right underneath the title, and I'll start a bracket here, and I'll just do link rel. I'm going to put equals, and now you can scroll down here and look for style sheet if you're not sure what it's supposed to say. So start off with link rel, and then I'll double click on style sheet and it puts it in there. And then I'll put type, and I'll select type, and it says text/CSS, and that's what I want. So it's doing that for me. I don't even have to remember that. And then the last part is the ref, and I could even start that. And remember, the ref is the reference or where it's going to, and here it's coming up, ex5.css. So since I did already save that file in there, it knows that it's in that directory, so I can select that, and then make sure to close off your bracket. And that way I now have a link to my CSS file. So now when I work on my CSS file, whatever I do, as long as I'm referencing the IDs that are in my index file, as long as I'm referencing these, they should change automatically.